Yo, it's Steven with Zero Deficit Media here with you today. We're going to be doing a ranking of all of Kanye West's latest albums. That's going to be all of the solo albums, not including any compilations such as Watch the Throne or Cruel Summer. So all of those we're going to excluding, just looking at Kanye West's body of work as a standalone. So without further ado, let's just get started and jump right into number 10, which would be Yeezus. Now, I know for a lot of people, that's going to be very upsetting, but they got to understand that for Yeezus, this was an album where it was the first album where I felt like Kanye West was not ahead of the curve. Went from Travis Scott's styles with a lot of other contemporaries that were coming out at the time, and he was incorporating that into an album. So instead of it sounding like it was one of Kanye's, one of the projects where he was influencing the youth, it was more of the opposite, where the youth was influencing him, which isn't a bad thing. But in terms of impact, when you're looking at an artist of that magnitude, I would say that was like a step down from what he usually has to bring. Now, there were some good tracks off of there. My favorite one being Bound 2. Bound 2 was an amazing track. I did like Black Skinheads. That was another really good one. Other than that, it really wasn't a standout for me. I did like what Chief Keef did with Blood on the Leaves. That was a very good collaboration. Other than that, vocal performance was kind of all over the place. It did what it needed to do, I feel like, creatively for who Kanye West is. But overall, definitely my least favorite Kanye West album. Number 9 on my list is going to be Jesus is King. So Jesus is King was released 2019. This album was inspired by gospel, so it was strictly supposed to be gospel record, no profanity. And I think this was actually his first full gospel record, with Donda being the second one. And it resonated with some fans. It felt like it lacked the type of depth that his previous work had. So for me, being a Kanye West fan, not only that, but if you're just a fan of anybody in general, usually there's something about that person that will stick with you that makes you want to be a fan with them, and usually it's their vulnerability, right? I felt like from a perspective of when you're thinking of gospel, you're usually associating that with Christians, and whatever your religious belief is, that's your business. But I do know that from a standpoint, in my perspective, coming from Louisiana in the South, when you're dealing with Christians, usually they're some of the most judgmental people. And I know that being of the Christian faith and being born down south. So when you're looking at that kind of music, it just didn't really give me that same vulnerability, that same I'm trying to do better. That album was recognized. I think it won a Grammy for best gospel album, which is, really, really good. But as far as impact, as far as how it made me feel, the contribution to hip hop as a whole, I just felt like it just wasn't there. Maybe a great turning point for him in his life. Maybe a good place for him to want to go around and do the choir and bring that to people and convert them to the faith. And he may have done a lot of great things with that album, but as far as where it's ranked on this list, just not the greatest Kanye West album. Number 8 for me is going to be 808s and Heartbreak. So 808s and Heartbreak is number 8 on the Kanye West rank list. It was released in 2008. The album marked the departure of that traditional Kanye West sound. This was when Graduation had concluded. Like, this is what got us the Drakes. That's what got us the Weekends, those eerie type cold winter vibes. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But I will say, I made this list, but not actually putting how I personally feel, just putting on in terms of impact for me. This is my least favorite Kanye West album. I hate 808s and Heartbreak. 808s and Heartbreak is trash to me. That's just how I feel. Now, you did get a lot of good records off of there. Since Kanye made Say You Will, we got Drake Say What's Real. That alone is a layup right there. We also got Heartless. We also got Amazing. We also got Love Lockdown. Now, again, there are some cool records on here, but as far as where I would put this album, it is definitely my least favorite Kanye West album. Now, what I will say, as far as impact for this album really did lay the foundation for all the artists you hear today. I think there was just a Baby Keem album where I was listening to it, and literally one of the tracks sound like Love Lockdown. I gotta look back and see exactly what that was, but for that Blue album, it sounds just like that. So the influence continues even with artists from today. So it impact wise, I guess you could say that it was a lot there. Sonically, I felt like this shit was a fucking disaster. I very rarely visit this album. Number 7 album on this list is going to be Ye. Now, Ye was when Kanye West was doing that little run where he was doing like 7-track albums. He did do an album for Nas, which didn't really go over so well, the album with Tiana Taylor. And for this album, as well as the Kid Cudi collaboration album, this one actually was I like the songs on the album, right? Felt more like a bunch of ideas than it did a complete project. Conceptually, I just felt like it was full of tracks that he didn't know what to do with. I think it was just that in between time of just finishing a project. So like just finishing the Life is Pablo, we're coming off of that, and in between Jesus is King. I felt like it was like a transition album. That's all that Ye was. Ye was a transition between the Life of Pablo and getting to Jesus is King. If you listen to the records, that's really all it is. I feel like as artists are creating and developing their work, they do need that in-between time to kind of flush out ideas, and that's all it is. I mean, Ye was just a rough draft.
See, y'all really shocked, but I'm really not. You know how many girls I took to the titty shop? If you got an ass with it, that's a 50 pop.
It seems crazy putting Late Registration at number 6. This was a 2005 release, and this album was built on the success of College Dropout, realistically, and it showcased Kanye West's growth as an artist with tracks like Touch the Sky, Gold Digger, which that solidified him as an artist in the mainstream. And I think at that point, Late Registration was really for us to know that Kanye West wasn't just a one-album wonder, okay? He was more than that. He could definitely make these records. He could take them to the next level, and it was just a great album for his growth and development. So that's still one of my favorite albums to this day. I'm just going to give it that number 6 spot. I'll put Donda as number 5. So Donda was a 2021 release by Kanye West. One of Kanye West's main gifts is being able to facilitate an album. The chords, the progression, the drums on some of, like, this is probably the best produced album for Kanye West, I really want to say. I mean, you got Jail. Guess who's going at you? No, man. You got Jail, you got Praise God, you got Believe What I Say, you got Off the Grid with a great performance by Favi. For this album, you start to see Kanye West isn't as much of a lyricist as he was in some of the previous works. And that's the great thing about being able to facilitate a great album. You can put the features on there that can also help carry sonically, lyrically, where you don't really have to do all of that, right? That's the one thing that makes this album to me only number 5. I would say maybe if he was more ambitious with lyrical aspirations instead of it being more feature heavy, because even though this is a Kanye West album, it really does feel more like a compilation than it does a Kanye West album, which is why it's going to get this number 5 spot. Number 4 on the Kanye West rank list is going to be The Life of Pablo. Now, The Life of Pablo, probably next to Donda, had the longest rollout, and the first version of this album that we had wasn't the best mixed. I would say it was kind of all over the place. Great album though overall. We got some of the Kanye West, the like craziest bars, like with the bleach in the asshole, which was funny as hell. And then we also got Father Searching My Hand, which I'm not lyrics that don't age well, like for Chance the Rapper. He met Kanye West, he never gonna fail. That bar ain't aged the best. It didn't really age that well, my man. But it's okay. That was a very great verse. Probably one of the best verses that you ever got from Chance the Rapper. For this one, Farthest Touch of My Hand was basically like that part 1 with part 2 was basically just a Panda remix. But that was an introduction that we got to Designer for the time that we got to hear from him. And then we got records like, no one talks about this one, but this is one of my favorite. It's just Waves.
No lie, you set the night on fire.
Taking the number 3 spot is Graduation. So this album was released in 2007. The album marked a pivotal point in his career, right? This was a fusion of hip hop, a fusion of electric. It had songs like Stronger. Another track that just doesn't get enough credit is Big Brother. Okay, Big Brother, what he did on there, like lyrically, was it was one of the best storytelling tracks, and I don't think it just gets enough credit. Um, Tracks like that, uh, tracks like I Won. Really, only two bad songs on here, right? Barry Bonds, which just didn't age very well, and Drunken Hot Girls was just trash from the moment that it came out. That was just I don't even know how that song actually made the album. I don't know who he had around him. I don't know what made him put that on there, but that is a horrible track. Always was, always will be. So taking a number 2 spot on our list is gonna be the masterpiece, maybe even a magnum opus to some. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which released in 2010. This album was right on the heels of 808s and Heartbreak. It was after Kanye West made some drastic changes to his sound. It was sonically and lyrically, this album was a triumph. Like Kanye's artistic genius just really shined through with every single track, from like Runaway to All of the Lights, which is just phenomenal. I mean, this album still resonates with fans and critics alike. I mean, it's masterfully done, emotional roller coaster. Just people counted Kanye West out around this time. This was the redemption album, and I mean, he came back with a vengeance. He definitely showed you exactly what he's capable of doing, right? Um, yeah, man, creativity unmatched, fearlessness is unmatched. The boundaries of hip hop and music as an art form, just the introspective bars, like okay, Dark Fantasy was great. Tracks like Gorgeous were amazing. Power, I would I would argue that Power is actually Kanye West's best track to date and most impactful to date, just because it's really hard to say that you could like put any record against that could be better than that. I mean, that's one of the strongest records ever. It would just be hard. Monster, So Appalled. The only bad part about this album for me is that as you get to the second half of the album, it starts to die down. It gets weak, and that would be the only downside for me. The first half of this album is literally, you could just play it all the way through. Once we get to the end, the album starts to fall apart a little bit. That's my only critique of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Still, that makes the number 2 spot on the Kanye West rank list. Last but not least, number 1 on the Kanye West list is going to be College Dropout. Now, I'm sure a lot of you is blowing your breath right now, but just let me tell you, College Dropout is to date Kanye West's best album. I don't really know what to tell you. From start to finish, this album does not fail. There's literally not one record off of that you can't play. This album just it introduced you to that soulful chickmunk, that rap that we known Kanye for. Kanye was very. If you saw the documentary, when he did College Dropout, how he got there. You saw that the Genius one. We all saw the documentary. We know what it took for him to make that album. We know Ludacris didn't want to do the feature. We know he kept all the good beats for himself. We heard the skits a million times. The skits are hilarious at a time where people was fucking skits up. It was funny. It was unique. It was at a time where you had gangster rap running rampant. You never heard of a backpack rapper with the pink polo on and the backpack. And because he did this, that made a way for a Lupe Fiasco. That made a way for a J. Cole. That made a way for a Drake. That made a way for a lot of people to make music where they were vulnerable, and it didn't have to be somehow gang affiliated, or didn't have to somehow be gangster rap or drug dealer. You can just be a regular person who actually just appreciated music, and you had a story to tell. It opened up the floodgates for a lot of you niggas to come in here and do what you want to do. That's all I could say. This also, side note, was my very first album. Very first album I ever had was Kanye West College Dropout. I had it in a CD player. I played this from start to finish, probably, I would say like 3 times a day for probably like 2 years. I loved this album. I could recite every word from front to back, start to finish. And I can tell you without a doubt in my mind, this is Kanye West's best work to date. And it doesn't get any better than that. All right. You got tracks like Through the Wire. Like, listen, we don't care. All Falls Down, Jesus Walks, which is still one of the best songs to date. Never Let Me Down, JIV kills that verse. Get 'em High, Workout Plan, the new Workout Plan, Slow Jams with Jamie Foxx. I mean, come on, Breathe In, Breathe Out with Ludacris. Are you serious? 2 Words with Mos Def? Through the Wire, Family Business, Last Call. Last Call was a great hip hop storytelling track. You can't, yo. Last Call too. Last Call was basically Genius, but in audio form. That's Last Call. That's it. It doesn't get no better than that. I mean, that is the best Kanye West album. It's just undisputed for me personally. That's undisputed. But I do think that personally, commercially, and with objectively speaking, I would say that's Kanye West's best album to date. But man, that's the Kanye West ranking 2023 top 10 albums from worst to best, or I mean, can you even say worst? But from, I would say, from good to great. The discography is full of groundbreaking moments. Let me know where you rank the albums, because I do want to hear from everyone else. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep listening to music. Do what you got to do. Fuck bitches, get money. It's all love. All right.